Welcome back to another video and welcome to my daily coverage of the 2026 Silk Road Mountain Race. In this video I'm just going to do a quick preview and mention a couple of riders to look out for, but primarily I'm going to be running over the route and showing a bit of insight into where the riders are going to be riding. So as this video goes out, the riders would just have set off and they'll be on their way. So I'll be doing coverage for the next 10 days or so. Don't forget to subscribe or keep on watching if you're into this stuff. Before I dig into the route itself on Rider GPS here, I've got a couple of sponsors making this happen. So Albion Cycling, they've actually just finishing up their summer sale. I think it finishes at the weekend, so if you're watching this you might just be able to get a bargain. And I've also got a discount code as well, so I'll put that up on the screen. But yeah, they do some really fantastic gear. I've used it myself on the Silk Road Mountain Race. So I'll highlight a couple of key pieces of kit over the next week or so. And another sponsor helping this happen, Cyc Plus. They make these little e-pumps. Actually used my one on the Transcontinental Race a couple of weeks back. And actually last time I went to the Silk Road I had one with me. I didn't actually take it on the race, but I had it in my luggage because it's just really useful to set your tyre pressures and just saves a bit of pumping up after you've kind of built your bike after the flight. So yeah, again, discount code on screen for Cyc Plus, so check those guys out. And yeah, so this is the route, or this is the tracker. So it's on Map Progress. As you probably know, the Silk Road is based in Kyrgyzstan, and this route there are some new sections, and there's also a lot of key classics as well, which we're probably I think we're on 7 or 8 editions of Silk Road now, so a lot of riders are fairly familiar, and yeah, I mean it's a fantastic race, really great. Before I properly dig into the route, I thought I'd just highlight a couple of riders. Now I did discuss on the podcast with my co-host Becky Waters, which went out a couple of days back. We did a bit more of an in-depth preview, and there's quite a few riders to watch. However, I've just picked 4. These are my kind of key favourites, I'd say, for this year's race. So we'll start with the women's side of things, and for me, the two standout riders are Cynthia Carson. So this is both my sort of standout women. This is the first time on the Silk Road Mountain Race, and but they've proven themselves in other mountain races before. So Cynthia's actually won the Atlas Mountain Race and the Hellenic Mountain Race this year in the Mountain Race series. So she's aiming for all 4 races this year. So this is race 3 in the series for her. And yeah, I mean she's super strong. Definitely one to watch. However, doesn't have that experience necessarily of Kyrgyzstan. But I still think she's going to be right up there. The other rider, another really strong woman, Kerry McPhee. She's raced Atlas and done the Highland Trail 550 quite a lot of times, so she's no stranger to kind of the more wild conditions. Again, not specific experience in Kyrgyzstan, but Kerry seems to excel when the conditions get tough. And if there's one thing that happens in Kyrgyzstan, it's the conditions get tough. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to see that battle. As I was saying to Becky on the podcast, my kind of instinct is that Cynthia is probably like the stronger rider, like on the pedals. But that doesn't necessarily count for a lot in Kyrgyzstan because there's so many other factors to deal with. Big, long, remote sections, hiker bikes, changeable weather, and the food is not great. You've got to be quite resilient with food. You've got to not get ill. That's taken many a person out of the running on the Silk Road race. So yeah, I think Kerry's definitely going to be right up there too. So that's going to be a really exciting battle to watch. And you never know who else sort of comes out of the woodwork on the Silk Road because it's quite a unique race. On the men's side of things, again, there's like 10 or 15 riders that are really, really strong. I'm not going to detail every single rider here, so listen to the podcast for a bit more in-depth chat about that. But for me, two kind of key standout favourites. The first one, he's back, Sofian Sahili, and he's already won this race 3 times. And he's not raced for a while after his Trans-Eurasia record went a bit wrong last year. So this is his first real big race back, and it's a race he loves, and it's a race he really excels at. And I mean, once you've won it 3 times, you don't go back again to try and come second. So yeah, Sofian has to be a favourite, and it's going to be really, really exciting to watch Sofian. He's always entertaining as well on the social media, and yeah, he's a bit of a showman. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing Sofian back racing. And another key favourite, the King of Chaos himself, Justinas Levejka. He's finished second or third here a few years back. I think he learnt a lot of lessons there. He's done a lot more kind of remote races since that point. And yeah, again, Justinas, you always have to watch him in these races. It's going to be an interesting battle. I wonder if we're going to get Justinas and Sofian kind of fighting, for the win. But there's also a lot of other riders too. It's quite a deep field on the men's side of things. So yeah, listen into the podcast for a bit more in-depth chat on that if you haven't done so already. And yeah, so as I said, the tracking is all on map progress, so we'll see quite a lot of that over the next kind of week to 10 days as I do my daily updates. But I'm going to run through the routes here on Rival GPS. So you can see it's a bit of a circuitous route, a kind of couple of loops just by the nature of Kyrgyzstan. You can't really necessarily do a point-to-point and get all the kind of beautiful passes and spots in. So the routes do tend to kind of loop a little bit. It also makes it quite makes it a bit easier in terms of scratching, because there's some kind of remote sections. So it's always useful to be going by civilization if you've got a problem, or it just makes the organisation a bit easier. So this year the race starts in Talas, which is in the west of the country. So the race has started here before. It was a bit of a chaotic start. I think it was like edition 2 or 3. I think Nelson decided to start the race out here. It's quite a remote part of the country. Well, a remote part of quite a remote country. So actually, it's you get 200 riders coming into the town, spending their money, buying food, resupplies, hotels. It really does help these small communities in the kind of the outer reaches of a country. So yeah, so the start's in Talas, and the riders, basically, we can see there's a nice big pass straight out the gun. You kind of need that on Silk Road just to spread things out a little bit. And then riders are going to be heading basically east. So this long section here takes riders back into like some classic Silk Road territory. There's a few passes in there, and basically this is the Karakol Valley. And I actually rode this the other way last year on the way out to the start in Osh, and I've got a few little videos as well. So basically, I'll just run the videos, and you can see. So this is basically, that's a valley. We camped out up here. This is what it's like in Kyrgyzstan. Massive high mountains. It's about 3,000 meters, just under 3,000 meters altitude, and it's incredible. It's a really beautiful country, and yeah, riders are in for a treat. So this is obviously riding the opposite way up the pass. You can see the pass in the far distance. So riders will be going in the opposite direction to the riders here, and you're basically following this I guess like wide river valley. The climbs tend to be climbing for a long time before you actually start the climbs, if that makes sense. So a lot of gradual climbing, and then you get to the head of the valley, and then you'll end up starting the actual pass itself. So yeah, it's slow average speeds on the whole, and pretty remote. That'll be the best part of half a day just getting up to that valley. But it's spectacular, really is spectacular. And of course the weather can change quite quickly. We had good weather there, but even overnight, it was below freezing. So there's big shifts. So the riders then kind of drop back into kind of some classic Silk Road mountain race territory. So CP1 is by Songkol Lake. There's normally a yurt camp up there which is used. Again, I've been there myself a couple of times, and yeah, so this video is actually from 2023 when I was racing. So this is the lake. This was early in the morning, and you can see there's kind of the weather can sit up on that lake a little bit. One side it can be raining, the other side it was fine. But yeah, pretty spectacular scenery, and this will be the kind of, again, riding in the opposite direction. So this will be kind of the track. I say road, but it's not really a road. It's a road by Kyrgyz standards, but the track around the lake. And again, you're pretty high altitude here, so elevation, altitude does have an effect. It's also very dusty in Kyrgyzstan, so sometimes you get problems with breathing just from inhaling dust. You can see just riding on one of these dirt roads all day, and you're going to be overtaken by like cars and trucks. They're everywhere. the people just get about their business and they're driving all over the place. But you get overtaken by a load of cars on a dirt road, you get dust in your face, then altitude, heat, dry air. So yeah, lung problems can happen. There's normally a bit of coughing going on when you're on the Silk Road, and then the riders basically loop back around. So you can see CP2 here. So this is Kyrgyzstan. So you remember there was a massive hiker bike last year, and that basically cut across to this Chinese border road. You can see the solid section here on Ride with GPS. Denotes tarmac. You may note that actually on this profile there's not really much tarmac. There's a lot of off-road in the Silk Road. They are roads, but they're just dirt roads, quite often corrugated, quite often loose, just sort of slow going. But this section is basically the Chinese have opened like a border crossing here, so this road is very well tarmacked. But you're not going to go the easy way. You're not taking the road from Narin, the tarmac road, the whole way. You're going through this wild section. So I think this is where the long hiker bike that you may remember from last year was, in this section here, and popped out onto this border road. This year it's a slightly different way through. I think it's predominantly rideable. Well, according to Nelson, you have to take that with a pinch of salt. I don't particularly know exactly where they're going, but I do know that when you pop out on this border road, it's a bit of a relief. But again, you're at 3,000 meters. It can be pretty wild. You're on a big plateau. Like, I've never experienced bad weather there, but you feel very exposed, and you feel like you could get smashed by a storm pretty quick if it was to come in. And I know for a fact that the weather can change quite quickly up there. You do feel very small up there, I can tell you that for nothing. And then you do have to go through a little border checkpoint, and then you head onto this spectacular dirt road. So this section is the Chinese border section. You need actual permits to get through. So a list of riders are given to the border control or the military checkpoints. So yeah, they kind of they check you in through this section because it's a restricted area. In this area, you can't go through without a permit or a tourist permit, but that's all organised by the race. But this section here up to CP2, it's absolutely spectacular. In actual fact, you can see an example of it behind on the photo on my wall. That was taken in 2023. That is on this section here, and I've got some video of that as well. So I'll just run it. So this is the road to Kyrgyzstan, and yeah, it's just spectacular. And I don't know if you can hear it. I'll turn up the volume and be quiet for a second, but just the wind howling across there. So yeah, and that's a nice day. And this was this was evening, like sunset, and it went from pleasantly warm to really cold very quickly. As soon as that sun goes down at 3,000 meters on these plateaus, there's a massive change in temperature. But yeah, it's pretty magical up there. Tough but magical. So I've been up here a couple of times, and then there's another checkpoint at Kyrgyzstan, which is again another little lake. There's a bit of a pass up there. It's nothing too bad. But then you may have heard of the old Soviet road. You can see the warning here, the old Soviet road. So basically it's an old military road, and they've basically seemed to have gone vertically up the steepest climb they could possibly find. So obviously Nelson's found this and put it into the route. And yeah, I mean, it's spectacular, but also hard work. So this is what the old Soviet road looks like. And as you can see, the lake's in the background. Just behind this hill here is a kind of a yurt camp with the checkpoint. And you're basically just pushing up a straight line. If it looks steep on camera, then it's very steep in real life. Behind the mountains in the background is China. Just to give you a bit of an idea, kind of where you are in the world. It's you feel pretty small when you're out there, but it's not too bad. It's maybe an hour of pushing, if that, and then you're back on kind of the main road out and heading down to Narin, which will be, well, it's known as Scratch City. It's pretty much the only big town on the route. As you can see, there's kind of a bigger road that you can get back to Bishkek, which is the capital city, and civilization a bit easier. There's the best resupply there. You might even get a sit-down meal if you're lucky. There's a hotel there. So yeah, it's quite often either a reset for people in the race, or if people are feeling it, it can also kind of end in a scratch. But from there, you're into another classic section, the Arabelle Valley and Arabelle Pass. So it's a bit of a loop again, just because this Arabelle Pass is the only real kind of easy way to get back and forth. So you do end up doing a bit of the same section twice. But yeah, the Arabelle is beautiful. I think I've got a video to show you. So Arabelle, this is, well, the riders will be coming up this way, so you're just climbing up this valley. It's a long climb. I think last time I was riding the direction last year that the riders will be doing this year. I was in Narin about lunchtime, and I think I camped about midnight, probably halfway up this kind of the high valley. You're climbing all day, and then you kind of get into the high valley, and then there's a pass, Arabelle Pass, over the back, and then you're almost at 4,000 meters. Yeah, you start to feel the breathing then, that's for sure. It's a bit of a struggle, and actually that's where I ended up scratching. This is where, like, I knew going up here last year that I knew I was going to have to scratch because of the problems with my dynamo hub and the bearings. And so yeah, so that's up there. Drop down then to CP3, which is actually the same as last year. Again, good lodgings. That's where I scratched last year. Good lodgings, good food, a bit of a reset before climbing back up Tossor Pass and going back down Arabelle, the way I kind of just showed you. And then there's a new section in here. You can see this Ukok Pass, the little highlight here. A long hike up the pass, likely one of the hardest parts of the race. Will take a considerable amount of time. Don't know what that actually means. It means the riders are probably going to be, well, there was this long hike last year. Sometimes Nelson makes it sound worse than it is, which is a good thing. Other times he downplays it and then it's horrendous. So well, it remains to be seen which one it will be here. So this is going to be an interesting section. No one really knows much about it, and yeah, so that's kind of a new bit. It could be decisive, but we'll see. And the storms do kind of tend to like settle on these mountains. So you've got this big lake here, and basically all the weather kind of settles in the afternoon, and there were some pretty spectacular thunderstorms as well. So there could well be some interesting weather if you time it wrong in this particular area. So after that, it's the absolute classic. It's Kygeti. Kygeti Pass this was the first pass the Silk Road race ever went over. It's beautiful. I was there last year. I've got some videos. I've actually been over it twice, I think. So this first video, this was last year. So this is the side the riders will be going up. We were coming from Bishkek last year. This was pre-race. There's Alex Kopp there. He's actually out there riding. So yeah, obviously riders will be going up this, and it's not really rideable on the way up because you're touching nearly 4,000 meters. So you're most likely just going to be walking up this. I mean, to be honest, riding or walking, it's pretty much the same pace by this point. And then the other side, again, this is what riders will be doing. So this was coming up the side of the riders will descend. So this was Helen Fromity and Stefan Hanal and Alex. And yeah, you can see it's just beautiful. These mountains are real mountains. You know, they're kind of they're high, they're wild, they're pretty much untamed, and yeah, this is what a lot of riders will be doing, just pushing their bikes and trying to breathe. And yeah, look at that, and then you can see the descent. Riders, it's like over an hour just descending down, and there's a little village at the bottom, Kygeti village, and get some resupply, and then onto the kind of, we call it the home straight almost. This is a section I rode in 2023. You've got the bonus climbs. There's about 3 climbs through this section. There's nothing bonus about them at all. They suck. They're just hard by that point. You're tired. And then this is the finish I did in 2023 as well. So it's Kopan. The finishes line is Kopan Alta. I think that's how you pronounce it. And the final pass is up here, Kokarik. It's spectacular. You basically spend the whole day riding up this long valley, and then you finally get to the top, and then you've got like 4 hours hiking basically up to the top, and it's spectacular. You're hitting 4,000 meters, but you know when you get to the top, you know it's all downhill, and this is the start of the hike, and you can see kind of where the glacier is at the top there. In the saddle, that's where the top of the pass is, and this lower section, you're kind of on and off the bike a little bit, but near the top you can see this loose kind of rocky kind of track. That's how it is most of the way up there. So yeah, it's a beautiful finish. It's a beautiful route. I kind of wish I was out there myself. Ended up doing TCR this year, but the next best thing is sitting here dot watching. So I shall be doing that for the next well, probably week to 10 days, I should think. So yeah, follow along, and see you all tomorrow, I guess. So yeah, thanks for watching.